you trying to play some of your favorite classic games and they just don't seem to work as well as they used to? On today's episode of How Do I, we're going to go over how to maintain some of your classic cartridges to make sure they can play for years to come.
Welcome to the new edition of How Do I, a show where you can learn something new every episode. I'm your host, Jared Williams. So are you trying to play your favorite classic Nintendo Saga game? Are you finding it just not working as well as it used to? In today's episode, we will show you a new easy way to fix a common issue among all game cartridges. Let's go over why. When you are expecting Zelda or just a gray blinding screen,
Before we jump into how to fix the issue, let's first go into what the issue is and why it's preventing your games from working. Most classic games like these run on cartridges, which inside of the plastic shell is a PCV board, which stores the game's data. In order for the game to run, the connectors inside of the cartridge have to make a clean connection with the connector inside of the system in order to help transfer the data. Over years, the pins oxidize, which is caused by moisture in the air, and weaken the connection, either causing the game to have glitches or not work at all. Now, many people, when their game isn't working, the first thing that comes to mind is to blow inside of the pin connector. While this may remove some dust that may have gotten into there, don't do this, because unless if your breath is very dry, the moisture in your breath is just going to speed up the oxidation process.
now it's time to get the inventory of weapons needed to tackle this boss. Here is everything you are going to need to open and clean the cartridges.
Okay, so here's all the supplies we're going to need. We're going to need some rubbing alcohol and water to make the solution, some Q-tips and a wet eraser to clean the contacts, a bunch of different screwdrivers to open up the cartridges, and of course, some cartridges to actually clean. While cleaning the pins inside of each cartridge is the same process for every system, opening the cartridges for each system requires different screwdrivers. Most cartridges have a special security screw and will require a Game-Bit screwdriver to open. There are two different sizes of Game-Bit screwdriver. The smaller one is normally used by Nintendo cartridges and handheld cartridges, while the larger one is normally used by Sega. These cartridges require slightly different tactics than just opening with a screwdriver. Famicom cartridges are held together by clamps for the most part, and are hard to get open without damaging the cartridge. Atari like to put labels over their screw. It's almost impossible to get into these cartridges without damaging the label, so later I'll show you a method to clean these if you can't open them. While Master System and TurboGrafx-16 HUD cards, the pins are just exposed, so you don't need to open them at all. And Nintendo DS games, the pins are exposed as well, though there's plastic lines in the way, which you have to be careful of, but shouldn't be that much of a problem.
Now that we know what the problem is and we have what we need to fix it, let's clean that cartridge.
So now that we know what the issue is and what we need, time to actually clean the cartridge. So first you're going to start out by opening the cart. Depending on which cartridge you're opening, the screws are going to be in different spots. It should be pretty easy to figure out how to open it. Make sure not to lose the screws. Now use your white eraser to scrub the pins. As you can see, these pins have gotten pretty dirty for sitting in this cartridge for 20 years. Make sure to use a white eraser over a pink eraser. After you scrub the pins from both sides, make sure to remove all the eraser savings from the cartridge. Now as you can see, the eraser got a lot of the dirt off of the pins. Though for a mildly dirty cartridge, this may be enough, but to go the extra mile, you want to take some of your alcohol and water it down a little and put it on a Q-tip and lightly rub the pins to get any remaining dirt. For cartridges that can't be opened, you can just take a Q-tip and rub the pins on the inside. It's not as clean. It won't be as clean as it can be, but it should still get the job done. Make sure to leave the cartridge to dry for at least 4 to 8 hours. You don't want to get any of this stuff inside of your system, as water and electronics don't blend well together. Now to go the extra mile, this cartridge has been sitting around for probably 20 years, and has collected a lot of dirt on it. Now the dirt can be just cleaned off with water, as it's just plastic, but still be mindful of the label, as paper and water also do not mix very well either. Stickers can also be a big issue. Depending on the type of sticker, there are different chemicals you can use to clean off. Some just come off with water, while others might require some Goo Gone or something like that.
He is playing no games.
Now that both the pins and the shell are clean, you can put the cartridge back together and put the screws back in place and leave it to dry, and then you're ready to play some Contra.
Oh, guess we're back. Now that the game is clean and dry, let's go and play the game. Let's go.
So now our cartridge is working, but our controller isn't. I'm going to quickly show you how to clean a controller, because it's not too different from a cartridge. The way most controllers work is when you push down on a button, there is a rubber connector underneath it, which makes a contact with the PCB board inside the controller, which tells the system you're pressing a button. It pretty much works like this on just about every controller, from NES to Xbox. Over time it may get dirty, which will prevent a connection, just like in cartridges. So what we're going to do is quickly open up the controller, and when you're inside, make sure to watch how you deconstructed it, as these are a bit more tricky to put back together. It varies from controller to controller. But once you got it open, clean the PCB board connectors and the rubber connectors with your rubbing alcohol.
I'm about to have him clean my old Nintendo. Stop it.
While you're at it, clean the outer shell with water, as it's probably pretty dirty. Now that you washed each part, make sure to dry it off and leave it to dry for a little bit before you assemble it back together. Once everything's dry and it's back together, you're ready to go play a game.
Today we got to learn how to clean a retro cartridge so that they are working like new. Thank you for joining us on today's episode on How Do I, and have a great day.
So that's all you need to know to help maintain your gaming collection. Just remember to keep your things clean and in a dry place, and this should work for years to come.